Good evening to all of you, and thank you for joining us on 13 Plus. I'm Mary Coleman. Hope your week is off to a great start. Well, from doctors who write prescriptions to themselves to nurses who steal medicine meant for patients, drug diversion is a huge problem for the medical community. Our national investigative team uncovered hundreds of examples of medical providers disciplined for pushing pills in the wrong direction. Joe Sturman digs into how they slip through the cracks in Diverted.
An Ivy League institution.
Why Yale?
Yale had a great reputation. I worked for them. I was proud to have worked for them.
A clinic staffed by people with the same distinguished credentials.
You think of it as top-notch healthcare.
Absolutely.
When Sori Ellis Henry and her husband decided to expand their family,
We tried for 6 months and we didn't conceive, so we had to go to a fertility specialist after that.
Yale seemed like a no-brainer to help them become mom and dad once again.
So this was our name bands, and we went to the clinic, the medicine that I had to take shots.
After enduring the grueling early stages of fertility treatment, the couple was filled with hope on Retrieval Day, where physicians surgically remove mature eggs from the ovaries for fertilization. The procedure is typically done while women are awake and is supposed to bring little to no pain.
Something was clearly wrong.
Scale of 1 to 10, how bad was the pain?
It was over a 10. It was horrific.
And it didn't make sense to Sori Ellis, an experienced registered nurse.
I told him, I said, I'm in pain. And the doctor said, you shouldn't be feeling anything. You got pain medication. And I was like, I'm in pain.
But unbeknownst to both patient and physician, Sori Ellis had gone through the excruciating procedure without painkillers. She learned the news months later in the headlines.
My jaw dropped and I just started screaming. I went downstairs to my husband. I was like, look at this. I wasn't crazy.
Validation for a nurse who was questioning herself. It came through a shocking announcement about one of her colleagues in arms, Donna Montacone, a nurse working for Yale's fertility clinic. Court records show that for months in 2020, she'd been secretly stealing fentanyl from the medical supply, draining the drug vials for her own use, refilling them with saline and putting them back on the shelf. So instead of getting a potent painkiller during their procedures, at least 95 patients got salt water.
I was shocked. I was relieved to know what happened. And then the anger kicked in.
A betrayal breaking the code of basic medical ethics and the law, with Montacone convicted of tampering with fentanyl intended for patients. What she did is considered diversion, where medical professionals channel medications away from their intended legitimate purpose for illegal use or distribution.
If you can operate with no oversight and really nobody has a questioning what you're doing, you just keep on doing it.
Our national investigative team found dentists, nurses, and doctors of all kinds doing it across the country. We looked at disciplinary records for regulatory boards nationwide dating back to 2018. We found nearly 300 medical professionals who've been punished for diversion. Records show many stealing from tracked medical supplies kept in hospitals or clinics, diverting pills meant for patients, holding or taking leftover meds instead of throwing them away as required, or writing prescriptions for themselves, people they knew, or known abusers.
How do doctors stay in the shadows, or nurses, or other medical professionals?
This is my own opinion. When you start putting letters before and after somebody's name, they're looked at differently.
Ian Icavello knows. He worked on an FBI task force investigating diversion cases and healthcare fraud, helping to convict an oral surgeon in Maryland for murder.
That was the craziest 3 weeks of my life. Sorry. That case still gets me.
That case involved Dr. James Ryan, who was diverting painkillers from his practice, routinely supplying or injecting his girlfriend with IV drugs meant for his patients until she ended up dead. Ryan is just one of dozens of egregious examples we found in disciplinary records. They include a doctor getting his partners to sign blank prescriptions so he could stockpile hundreds of pain pills for himself. A dentist who wrote prescriptions for sedation drugs for dozens of patients she never saw. Another who ordered thousands of Xanax through a dental distributor to fuel his own habit. And nurses who took home opioids that went unused during their shift, gave themselves morphine injections, took drugs from needles in the Sharps container, and even used pills meant for patients, claiming they'd been given when the person complained of pain.
In some cases, diverters were snagged by a prescription paper trail. Others were caught on camera or flagged when automated medication machines in many medical settings had records that didn't add up. But in many diversion cases, they come to an end simply because somebody opened their mouth.
When something isn't right, there is a good chance that, frankly, we can even go back to an elementary school principal. Somebody's going to tattle.
In one of Eduardo Chavez's biggest cases, somebody did, busting open a massive diversion case in Texas. It involved 49 people, including 2 doctors, a nurse practitioner, and 5 pharmacists.
I'm getting this medicine up and then I'm going to go out of there.
Our national investigative team got exclusive access to the wiretaps and undercover footage used in the DEA's Operation Wasted Days. The sting captured a network of recruits on video, part of a pill mill run by 2 doctors writing prescriptions for controlled substances for cash, with pharmacies in on the scam, helping divert drugs for resale on the street.
What's amazing to me is how you could get so many people to agree to the same criminal activity, not waver, and do it for so many years. In essence, the process was as insulated as it could be.
So protected, the doctors were able to write prescriptions worth $18 million over 9 years. They did it spacing out appointments, specifying no refills, and adding things like mineral ice and antibiotics to the prescriptions to make them appear more legitimate.
So if the DEA, if the pharmacist, if the medical board even happens to take a look at that, they see what might be, oh, someone must have come in for a bum knee. And here's this doctor prescribing exactly what you might think would be a remedy for that. And so they knew just enough.
Enough to avoid detection. Although the DEA does both random and scheduled audits of prescribing habits, the agency has to keep an eye on hundreds of thousands of registered prescribers nationwide, with the vast majority playing by the rules. The state prescription monitoring programs created in the wake of the opioid epidemic can be helpful, but Icovello says many are more focused on people who doctor shop than the doctors writing prescriptions. That's one reason investigators say people speaking up is key.
Unless somebody steps out of that closed environment and says, I think you all need to hear this, there's really nobody.
This is a proud daddy holding his baby.
In Soriellis Henry's case, instead of cries of agony from patient after patient, it was somebody who noticed a loose cap on a fentanyl bottle that put a stop to diversion at the Yale Clinic.
It broke my trust in the healthcare system. I just didn't understand, even as a nurse, and how that could have happened.
Now a nurse practitioner with the power to prescribe.
Is this a boo-boo or a scratch?
And a 4-year-old daughter added to the family, Soriellis is determined to be the kind of patient advocate she didn't have.
It's a safe space. It's a space where they'll be well cared for, they'll be listened to.
Make sure nobody ever goes through what you went through.
Not under my watch. Yeah.
Well, since discovering the diversion, a Yale representative says new measures have been instituted to ensure its clinics have the most rigorous processes, procedures, and safeguards in place. The university recently settled a lawsuit brought by victims at its fertility clinic. The nurses involved pleaded guilty and surrendered their licenses. Again, we hope you're having a great evening and enjoy this live look from our Mount Bigelow camera. Lots of lights out there, some Christmas lights, I take it. We hope you'll join us for 13 News Live at 10 for more of your news and weather. Have a